But today, we're talking about the Fourth Amendment. You guys are in the thick of the Bill of Rights and the Constitution and all that. Well, the Fourth Amendment is the one that we, the police, use most often. That's one of the more important ones for us. Does anyone recall what the Fourth Amendment is, what it protects you from? Yeah, go ahead.
The right not to be searched without a warrant.
Okay. Yep, that's definitely part of it, for sure. So the way that it's worded is, and I can't quote it word for word, but it's something to the effect of, protects you against unreasonable searches and seizures. And when the founders wrote the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, they chose every word very carefully. And so each word means something. So unreasonable, pretty self-explanatory what that means. As long as the populace as a whole would deem that as being reasonable, whatever action it was, then it's deemed as reasonable. A search, okay, it protects you from searches of you, the individual. It protects you from searches of your property, which is your bag, your jacket, your car, your house, your property that you live on, the land. It protects you from all that. Your property is kind of a broad term that covers a lot of different things. So it protects you from searches of all those things. That's unreasonable. And it protects you from seizures. Now, a seizure is the government taking custody of something. You can be seized, but we generally call that being placed under arrest, where the officer is taking custody of you and removing you of some of your rights and putting you in jail. That's seizing you, but we can also seize your property, and the property is the same as I listed out before. It can be the stuff in your bags, the stuff in your pockets. It could be your car, your house, whatever. When we seize a car, we tow it, but it's viewed as a seizure, under the Constitution. The police department, one of the few organizations that can take rights away from people. But to do so, we have to have probable cause. So there's a hierarchy of belief and probable cause. There's guaranteed certainty. That's, I know 100%, I have all the evidence that proves 100% that you did it. Well, that's the judicial branch that does that. The judge takes all the evidence and determines, hey, it's your fingerprints on the gun. It's your DNA at the crime scene. You're the one that did it. That is certainty. Okay, and the judicial branch uses that. Where the police department, we're the executive branch, we fall under probable cause. And probable cause is if I have enough information to believe that it's 51% likely that you did it, 51% or more likely that you did whatever crime, then I can seize you or seize your property or search you. The school is underneath that, because here at the school, if they believe that you have contraband that you brought into the building, whether that be narcotics or that be tobacco stuff or a weapon, they don't have to have probable cause to search you. If they just hear that, hey, this guy here, he's got a weapon in his bag, there's going to be a knock at the door. One of the administration folks will come down and say, hey, grab your stuff, come with me. You'll go down to the office and they will search your stuff. And they don't have a warrant to do so. They don't need one. They just have to have reasonable suspicion that something is going on. Now, if they don't find anything, then you're sent on your way. They're going to have a conversation with you, of course, but you're sent on your way. You're back to class, going about your day. If they do find something, well, then they bring it to me. I determine if it's a violation of the law. If it is a violation of the law, I now have the evidence that they gave to me that they found in your backpack, and I'm at probable cause, so I can arrest you or whatever the case is. But you won't see me searching your stuff here in school unless I have probable cause. Another way that I could develop probable cause in a school is drug dogs. So from time to time, drug dogs will be brought in the school, and they will go down the halls smelling every locker. At high schools, they do that as well, but they also go through the parking lots with the drug dogs and smell all the cars. And the minute one of those dogs hits on that car or that locker, that's the officer's probable cause to search that. The lockers aren't your property, the cars are, but you're parking it on school property, and with the drug dog hitting on it, probable cause, we get in that car. We get in that locker, we get in the bag, whatever it is. So underneath reasonable suspicion, where the school's at, is simply a hunch. Okay, hunch is down here at the bottom. I kind of feel like that person's up to no good. I kind of feel like that person maybe, is out committing crimes, but I don't really have any real evidence. I don't have any witnesses saying anything. Nothing. Something gives me an uneasy feeling about him. That's just a hunch. I can't arrest somebody or search somebody's stuff on a hunch. I'd have to have a search warrant, and no judge in their right mind would sign a search warrant on a hunch. For me to apply for a search warrant, I fill out all kinds of paperwork, and I fill out a document that is called a probable cause statement. And I send that to the judge. The judge reviews it, and if he believes there's enough probable cause there to issue the search warrant, then he issues the warrant. Search warrant or arrest warrant, either or. So even to apply for a search warrant, I still have to have that probable cause. That's very important for us in law enforcement. So the Fourth Amendment protects, yeah, go ahead.
Well, if you're not home and the police officer comes and they have a search warrant?
So if you're not home and they come and they have a search warrant, it depends on the situation. It depends on what the search warrant is for. Most times they have a warrant saying that they can enter that property and they can search it. So most times they're going to enter that property and they're going to search it. There's a few limited cases where they might stand by and wait for somebody to come home. They might just put an officer out front and wait for somebody to come home, and then when that person gets there, they contact the homeowner or the resident, and the search team comes back out and they do it, but that's pretty rare. If they're going to search a house, an apartment, whatever, they're going to do it regardless if somebody's home. And they'll just post the search warrant. They'll just leave a copy of the search warrant inside the house when they're done. So those search warrants, case law has established the reasonableness on a search warrant. The kind of the lifespan of a search warrant is at most about 10 days. So if I apply for a search warrant, I've got 10 days to serve that search warrant. Because if I go outside that 10 days, well, then it's reasonable to believe that whatever evidence I had to gain the search warrant isn't there after 10 days, particularly on search warrants for narcotics or something. People are constantly buying and selling drugs. Well, if I have a belief that This drug dealer, he likes to go on Wednesdays at 3 in the morning to go buy all his dope, bring it to his house, package it for resale. Well, if I wait too long and I go on a Friday, he might have sold everything that he had, and then it's pointless. And the police don't want to look like fools. The judge doesn't want to look like a fool, where if we kick in the door and we serve the search warrant, we don't find anything. Well, that's not good. There's not too many times that that's going to happen where the judge will be willing to sign off on a search warrant, because the judge doesn't want his name on something if there's no results. So we've got about 10 days to serve that warrant, but usually it's once we get the search warrant signed, we're kicking in doors within a day or two, because we want to get going. So we've already done all our surveillance before. We've done everything. We've got a drone. I'm our drone pilot for the department. And so if we get a house that we want to do a search warrant on, I'm flying that drone up, a week before, getting pictures of it from all around, going way up, getting pictures of the street layout, how can we approach, all this stuff. So all the work's being done on the front end, then we apply for the warrant, and we serve it pretty quick. Yeah.
If you have the 10 days, and if you search it one day, are you allowed to search it another day, or you just aren't allowed to search it that one?
Just the one time, and then if we need to do it again, we apply for another search warrant. Because once it's been served, it's been done. So if we have to do it again, we have to do another search warrant. So, yeah.
But the drone thing, wouldn't this be easier to just use a helicopter so someone doesn't get confused for another civilian's drone?
Maybe, but a helicopter is easier to see than a drone. It stands out more. People are drawn to it more. Plus, they are massively expensive. Even if we were to use somebody else's helicopter, like if we, Gladstone, called KCPD and said, hey, can you fly up here and get us some pictures, we'd have to foot the bill for the fuel and the time for the officer and all that, and that's just expensive. Where all I have to do is charge the batteries on the drone and it's done. So.
Is the drone stick? I can't even speak. Is the drone with a specific type, or is it just like any other drone?
It's just like any other drone. We bought one that anybody can buy, so it's just a plain old drone with a camera on it. Now, eventually, I'd like to get a bigger one that has different capabilities, like night vision and thermal vision and that sort of stuff. But right now, since we just started this program a year ago or so, we just have kind of an entry-level one, just so we can get the program going and learn operational stuff on it, and then hopefully expand it down the road. But as far as a search warrant goes, so I have to have a search warrant to search somebody's property, right? Or search you, or an arrest warrant to seize you. Now there's some exceptions to that. There's times in which I don't need a warrant to do those things. As far as search, well, let's do arrest warrants first. An arrest warrant is a judge has deemed you likely to have committed a crime, and so they issue a warrant for your arrest. That gets entered in the system, and then the police go find you and arrest you. Well, when they arrest you, you could just be walking down the street and the officer sees you, says, hey, that's that guy we've been looking for, he's got an arrest warrant, arrest him. Well, we didn't have to catch you in the act of doing something to arrest you for anything. We didn't have to catch you stealing to arrest you for stealing. You had a warrant for stealing. So that's an exception to an arrest warrant, or to having a warrant to arrest you. Is if there's already a warrant in place, I can just arrest you. search warrants, there's more to that. So searching your property, I don't have to have a warrant if you guys give me consent to search. More times than not, that happens on a traffic stop. Okay, have any of you guys ever been in the car and you get pulled over? If you have, if that's been the case a few times, has the officer ever asked, can I search the vehicle? It just kind of depends on the situation. But all we're doing there is we're trying to get consent to search the car. Because if I have your consent to search, I don't need a warrant. Because you gave me permission to do it. So yeah, most of the time on traffic stops, that's where you see that. Now we do it on houses too sometimes, but it's not as often. But on a traffic stop, you get pulled over, the officer walks up, hi, I'm Officer Slayton with the Gladstone Police Department, and I stopped you for whatever it is. I stopped you because your license plates are expired. Okay? I get your driver's license, your insurance, I get back to the car, run that stuff, maybe write you a ticket, maybe I don't. Then I come back up to the car and say, hey, here's your stuff back, can I search your car? If you say no, and I don't have probable cause to search the car, then you're on your way, you leave. Okay, if you say, yeah, sure, you can search my car, well then, I'm going to search it. Yeah, so, all right, well here, step out for me, come back here with my partner, usually by then we'd have another car there, another police officer. Step back here with my partner, I'm going to search your car. Because you gave me consent. You don't have to say yes. You can say no when an officer asks that. Now, there are times that we ask for consent even though we have probable cause. Okay? Probable cause allows me to search without a warrant. But I'll still ask for consent sometimes. And that's just to read what your reaction is. What's your answer going to be? How are you going to act? Because that helps formulate an opinion in my mind on where we're at on probable cause. If I smell the odor of marijuana coming from the car and I get up there, I don't tell you that. I might just say, hey, do you mind if I search your car? And then people snap their head. Why? Why do you want to search my car? People start freaking out. It's a simple yes or no question. You just say, yeah, sure, you can search, or no, I don't want you searching my car. Okay? But sometimes, even if I have probable cause, I'll still ask, hey, you mind if I search your car? And if they go, nope, I don't want you searching my car. Well, I already have probable cause, so I can say, all right, well, here's the deal. I can smell marijuana, the smell of the odor of marijuana coming from your car. Why don't you step out? We'll have the driver, the passengers, whatever, the occupants of the vehicle, step out of the car. If there's multiple, we'll separate them and we'll start talking to them. If it's just the driver, we'll have them walk out. I'll follow them back. They'll stand in front of my police car. And while I'm there talking with them, it's kind of weird, but what we're doing is we're trying to determine, is that odor coming from the driver, the person? So we're smelling them, going, do I smell weed on them, or was the weed only in the car? Because if I smell weed on them, when I'm talking to them, outside of the car, and I go back to the car, and I don't smell anything, well, the weed is probably in their pockets or on them somewhere. Or they just got done smoking, and the odor's on them. But if I don't smell anything on the person, and I go back to the car and I still smell it, it's likely somewhere in the car. And I search the car. Okay, so we still ask for consent, even if we have probable cause sometimes. It's just a way for us to read, how is this person going to act? Are they going to be more suspicious? Because that helps me develop my probable cause and set the groundwork for the next steps in what we're doing. Question? Yeah, go ahead.
Do you guys ever check in like in the engine compartment for like drugs? Are you checking the passenger or do you only check in the trunk and driver's seats?
It depends. So if I've got a known drug dealer, or if I'm finding a lot of dope in a car, then yes, I'll search the engine compartment. I lift up the hood, I'll pop open their filters, their air filter. I'll pull the dipsticks on things. I'm looking in the windshield washer fluid. I'm looking everywhere. But you're also looking for the heads of bolts, because most of those are painted on the inside. You're looking for heads of bolts that have been damaged because maybe they've taken a panel up. You're looking for anything that looks disturbed. If the engine compartment's all dusty and there's a thing over here that's not dusty, I'm looking at that because that's been altered, that's been messed with. I'll open up the gas tank doors, I'll open up inside the car, every compartment I can. If something's loose, I pull that open and look. If the panels on your doors, or the door handles on the inside and everything, the plastic, if those are loose, I'm getting in there, I'm gonna look. We all keep multi-tools, and some of us have little toolkits in our bags. We'll open stuff up if we have to.
Once this came loose over time.
What is it?
Like the little plastic, little plastic things on the door that you're just talking about.
Yeah.
How come they just get research?
Sometimes they do, and it's, again, you kind of go back to looking at it. Does it look like it's been messed with? Does it look like it's been tampered? Or is it just wear and tear on the vehicle, some natural wear and tear, But if we've got probable cause, if we've got consent and we're searching that car, and if I strongly believe that this drug dealer here guy is got something in this car, I'm gonna search everywhere. And while I'm searching, I've got a drug dog coming, most likely. Because Gladstone, we don't have a drug dog, but Clay County has a couple of them. Riverside has them, Kansas City has them. So we'll call another agency and have them bring their dog. And while we're searching, we'll bring the dog up. And when they get there, we all step back and the dog runs around, and I'll say, yeah, I found some drugs in the cup holder, and I found some here, and I found some there. Have your dog run around, see if there's any more. And they'll finish up the search that way. But yeah, as far as consent goes, you can say no. That doesn't always mean that we're not going to search, because we might have probable cause to search. But if we don't, if we're just asking to ask, then you can say no. And if you do, we have to let you go. We honor that. We can't just search because we feel like it. So we have to have probable cause or your consent. Another exception to that, where we do not need a search warrant, is if the contraband is in plain view. And it kind of goes with the odor of marijuana as well. The odor of intoxicants, like if you've been drinking, you smell like alcohol. Your breath smells like alcohol. That odor emits from you. It just comes out of you. But also plain view. If I can see something, you get some of these folks, will pull them over, and they're so nervous about being stopped. One, because they're getting pulled over, and two, because they know they have drugs in the car. They get so nervous that they forget to take all their weed that's on the passenger seat in a baggie and put it under the seat where I can't see it. They forget. So you get up there, hey, give me your driver's license and insurance, and I'm looking, step out of the car. I see your bag of weed on the passenger seat. Step out of the car. It's in plain view. I can now search that car, and I don't need a warrant because I saw the contraband right there. So if it's in plain view, or if I smell it, I can search. That gives me grounds to search, and I don't need a search warrant. Does that make sense?
Have you ever searched anything?
Have I searched what?
Anything, like a house or a car?
Oh yeah, all the time. it'd be every day when I was working patrols. Now I'm assigned to the schools where all day, every day, I'm in the schools.
Even Saturday and Sundays?
No, not Saturday and Sunday. Unless there's an event going on Saturday and Sunday, then I'm probably here. But no, so I've got 7 schools I'm in. But when I was in patrol, yes, it'd be every day. Searching cars, houses, people, everything. Every day. And in Gladstone, if I were to average out the whole year, we'd probably arrest 5 or 6 people a day, averaged out. So a lot of people getting arrested. So we search a lot of stuff. And we have to do it right. Otherwise, I can go to jail. I can get sued criminally. I can get sued civilly. I can get sued criminally, so I go to jail, and get sued civilly, where I lose all the money in my bank account's gone, my house gone, cars gone, everything gone, my whole livelihood gone, and I can go to prison. So I am going to do things right, because I don't want to go to prison, and I don't want to lose everything I've worked hard to get. So yeah, I got to do things right. Another exception, so we've got consent in plain view. Another exception, and this one is more with houses or apartments or whatever, places that people live, is exigent circumstances. What that means is if there's an emergency going on inside, I can get into that house, that apartment, whatever, without a search warrant. So sometimes our patrol officers get a call that the odor of marijuana is in the hallways of this apartment complex. Okay, or it'll be, hey, my downstairs neighbor is smoking weed again. I can smell it coming up through the floor, or whatever, through the vents. So we get there, we determine what apartment it's coming from, and the first thing we do before we knock is we listen. We just stand at the door and we listen. We listen to see if there's people walking around, if there's people talking, what's going on. We listen for a little bit, and then we knock. If when we're listening, we hear yelling and screaming, and it sounds of a disturbance, sounds like people are fighting, and we've got yelling and screaming, help me, don't do that, put the gun away, whatever it is, something that sounds like somebody's life is in danger, then I'm obligated, I have to kick that door in and resolve the issue. Now I'm entering in someone's house, their domain, without a search warrant. But the reason I can do that is exigent circumstances. There was an emergency inside, I must go in. Same thing, if we get a structure fire, most of the time the police are able to get there faster than a fire truck. Because the police can drive faster than a fire truck, and they have to get all their equipment and stuff, and so we're just usually there quicker. If we get there and we've got a lady standing up front saying, I couldn't get to my kids, they're still inside. Well, I'm going in. I'm going to go in there and I'm going to find those kids, or try to anyways. And I don't need a search warrant, I'm going in. Or even if nobody's home and I see a house on fire, I'm going to kick that door in and I'm going to go and make sure nobody's in there. And I don't need a search warrant. It's an emergency, so I can go in without a search warrant. Okay, yeah.
Okay, so one day I was leaving from school earlier. So you know like where Lynn West is?
I do?
Not the big house that's right across, but the house down the yellow house.
Okay.
I was going to my therapy, and it was on fire.
Oh, really? Yeah. The early childhood center that they're building right over here was on fire this morning, so that's what they're.
It was.
Yeah.
I saw that all the fire trucks and stuff.
Yeah, it was a really small, electrical fire or whatever. I don't think there was very much damage at all, but it was on fire this morning.
No.
So.
They're still building
Well,
Yeah.
we're looking for them, the firehouse is like, really.
Yeah,
like-
it's right there,
Yeah,
yep.
so it didn't take that long.
But still, the police got there first, so.
Fire station's like right,
Yeah.
Did you go there?
Huh?
Were you there this morning?
I was not, no, I was pulling in the parking lot and I saw the fire trucks and stuff driving to it. So I was like, I wonder what that is, turn on my radio and listen to it, I was like, oh, it's just a fire, it'll be all right. So,
well, look, he's still being built, there was no kids. Well, there's,
yep,
well, at that
that's
time,
right,
there's still being no
yeah, nobody
kids.
was inside, it's empty, because it was 6 o'clock in the morning, but.
Yeah.
So I'll tell you a story where consent came to play, okay? So this was when I was working in Columbia, Missouri. A college student and 2 of his roommates, they lived in an apartment down there. Well, he calls one day and says, this was in the evening, and says that he's been robbed at gunpoint. Well, that's a big deal, right? That's scary. So we go flying down there. We get there quick. He gives us an awesome description of the vehicle that these suspects were in, and a description of the suspects themselves. And he said, you know, they had a gun, they pointed it at me, and they took all my money. Okay. We get down there really quick, can't find the suspects anywhere. And there was a lot of us coming. And we would have seen the car going by, because there's only one way in and out of this complex. So we would have seen the car when we were coming in, because we got there quick. We didn't see anything, nothing. So we go contact our victim, the guy that called us, and start asking him questions. And my partner, we were riding 2-man, so there's 2 officers in a car. My partner, it was his turn to take the report, so he was getting all the information. And I was standing back just listening. And as the kid was talking and explaining everything, I thought, well, this doesn't add up. This doesn't make any sense to me. I keep listening and it keeps making less and less sense, and this story kind of changes and it just doesn't make any sense. So I stop him. I say, listen, man, I don't mean to make any assumptions here, but what you're telling me, what you're telling us, isn't making a whole lot of sense. And I'm leaning towards believing that you're lying to us, and what actually happened was you were trying to sell drugs to someone, and they robbed you. They pointed a gun at you, and they took your dope, your weed, and didn't give you money for it. So they robbed you. There's a drug deal gone bad, right? And he goes, my roommates sell drugs. And I thought, what?
Wow, wait a
That
minute.
doesn't make any sense. Like most people would say, no, that's not at all what happened. His response was, my roommates sell drugs. Well, we aren't talking about your roommates. We aren't even talking to your roommates. They aren't home. We're talking to you. Why would you say that? That doesn't make any sense. So I asked him, I said, okay, all right, well, what kind of drugs do they sell? And he goes, they just sell weed. I go, oh, okay, well, that's not a big deal. Is there any weed up in the apartment? He says, yeah, there's a little bit. Okay. So, well, listen here, bud. If it's just a little bit, it's not that big of a deal. I'll confiscate it. I'll give you a ticket, and you just come to court, whatever, and you'll pay a small fine. That's it. Weed's easy. Dealing with weed is easy.
Yeah, how come he's the one, how come if there's weed, how come he's the one that's getting in trouble, not the roommates?
Well, I'll get to that here in a second. So, at this point, I'm just fishing, okay? He's giving me all the information I need, and so I'm just thinking, okay, well, this is pretty easy. I can get out of taking an armed robbery report because that didn't happen. I said, so if I can just give this kid a ticket for his weed and get on my way, then whatever. And he says, okay, yeah, no, that's fine. That makes sense. Well, come on up to the apartment then. So we follow him up there. He invites us up, and we get upstairs, And I asked him, your roommates, they're not home? He said, no. He said, but come on inside and I'll give you the weed. I said, okay. We get inside and I look around. Walk right into the kitchen and the living room area. And then his bedroom was off to the left and his roommate's bedrooms were here on the right. I look around the kitchen and living room and there's bongs and pipes and stuff just everywhere. Window sills, dressers, tables, there's bongs and pipes everywhere. And on the kitchen table, there was saran wrap, like in little squares and where they were tying it off, and little rubber bands and plastic baggies and stuff, like in an assembly line, so they could package all their drugs. And I'm thinking, holy cow, this guy just walked me into his little drug dealer paradise here. But I'm not saying a word. I'm just keeping my mouth shut. This kid invited me in. I'm just observing, trying to get as much as I can, learning as much as I can before I drop the hammer on him. And he says, well, come back to my room. That's where we got it all. And I thought, oh, so now you told me your roommates sell drugs, but now you're taking me to your room because that's where it's all kept. All right. I go, yes, sir. Coming with you. Walk into his room, more bongs, more pipes everywhere. And he reaches over and grabs a bag of cocaine, a gallon Ziploc bag of cocaine, says, here's all my cocaine. He then grabs a quart-sized Ziploc bag of Xanax pills, full, says, here's all my pills. And then he grabs 2 bags, gallon Ziploc bags of marijuana, says, and here's all my weed. I'm holding all this going, holy cow, what in the world did this guy just do? And I look up at him and he goes, all right, officer, how does this ticket thing work? How do we do this ticket? Do I need to come down to the car and you can write, or do you mail it to me or what? And I said, well, I'm sorry, bud, but we're beyond a ticket now. You just handed me multiple felony charges. You told me there was just a little bit of weed. And I don't know about you guys, but in my mind, a little bit is like a little bit, not 2 bags of weed and a bag of cocaine and a bag of pills. I was thinking a little bit of weed when he said that, which is a ticket. You just write him a ticket, here you go. And he pays a very minimal fine, and that's it. It goes, I mean, that's it. It's easy. But he hands me all this stuff, and I said, I can't write you a ticket for that. These are felonies. That's not how tickets work. Tickets are for misdemeanors, low-level municipal crimes. And so I said, turn around. You're under arrest. I got to handcuff you, And I'm walking him down to the car. He's real emotional about it. And we get down to the car and he says, oh, so am I going to jail? I said, well, yeah, the handcuffs, now you're in the back of the police car. Yes, the next stop is jail. That's where you go. And he gets more emotional and then he asks, well, do you think this is going to impact my internship I have at NASA this summer? So he was, come to find out, this guy was like a rocket scientist. That's what his degree was in. And he was going to go work for NASA. And I said, well, I don't know. I have no control over what NASA does. But I don't think they'll want you around when you have a felony for cocaine, a felony for the pills, a felony for the amount of marijuana you have, and then you're also getting a felony for distribution charges, and then multiple misdemeanor charges for the paraphernalia and some of the other stuff that he had. So I said, I don't know how that's going to work out for you, bud. I'm sorry.
Tasha, come to the...
Man, that's loud. So all of that was on consent. He could have, when I said, hey, is there any weed up in the apartment? He could have said, no. Nope, nothing. Well, can we come up? Nope. I would have been done. We would have left. But because he said, yeah, there's weed up there, well, that gave me a little bit of probable cause. But then he invited me in, and then he invited me to his room, and then he handed me all his drugs. It was all consent. So he went to jail. I don't know the outcome of it. I don't know if he went to prison or not. But he had 4 felony charges just on consent. He was a very intelligent person, but he didn't know his rights, and he allowed us in. Now, I don't want people to get away with felony crimes like that, but he could have gotten away with it if he wouldn't have given consent. Yeah,
Your mind in that situation.
certainly. So as far as officer safety goes, one of the most dangerous things that officers do is traffic stops. There's more officers every year killed or injured in traffic stops than anything else. So when an officer pulls you over, when you guys start driving and you're learning, you're not going to be very good drivers, and you're probably going to get pulled over. In fact, when I was on patrol, I would sit by Oak Grove Park, right by Oak Park High School, and I'd sit there at like 2:15 because I knew the school got out at like 2:20 or something like that. And sure enough, here would come the parade of high school drivers flying, 3,000 miles an hour down Troost, running stop signs and doing all kinds of crazy kid stuff. And it was right for the pickings. I could just go, that car, getting stopped, that car, to pull over high school kids. I rarely wrote tickets, but I'd pull them over and educate them on the rules of the road, but it will also be a kind of a scare tactic because nobody likes to get pulled over. And it's kind of scary because people are thinking, oh, what's going to happen? Am I in trouble? Whatever. So I'd talk to them, educate them, whatever. But when an officer walks up to the window, okay, the red and blue lights come on, the siren comes on, whatever, pull over to the right. Pull over. Don't stop in the middle of the road. Don't go to the left. Pull over to the right side of the road. Don't drive down, 2-3 blocks and go, well, I wanted to pull into the Hy-Vee parking lot because I feel safer stopping here. No, don't. I understand, but just pull the car over. We've got red and blue lights. It's very unlikely that somebody's going to run into us. I think most of the time when people say that, they want to be in a public place and they're trying to prove a point or whatever. Just pull over, and then I highly recommend rolling your windows down, turning the music off, and then shutting the car off. Okay? Most vehicles have tinted windows in the back. So when that officer walks up, we don't know who's in that car. We don't know who's driving. We don't know who the passengers are. Nothing. We can run the license plate and figure out who the vehicle's registered to, but that doesn't mean that that's the person driving. So we don't know who is driving that car. We don't know if they are a murderer that's wanted and they're going to cause harm to us. We don't know if they've got tons of warrants. We don't know if they're, the citizen of the year, the nicest person in the world. We have no idea who that person is. And we don't know if when we're walking up, if they don't have a handgun pointed right here so that once we get in sight, they can shoot and kill us. We have no idea. So rolling the windows down helps the officer see inside that car, which lowers their stress level a little bit. If the music is turned off, it helps that officer lower the stress level a little bit. So having that done, having the car turned off, when the officer gets out, looks, doesn't see the exhaust fumes coming, you know, if it's cold, or doesn't hear the car running, well then, okay, well this person is showing me a sign of respect by shutting the car off. I don't have to worry about them fleeing. I don't have to worry about them causing harm to me. If the car is off, they're probably not going to cause harm to me because it's harder to get away. It takes them longer to start the car and get going. So having the car off, windows down, radio off, and then both your hands on the steering wheel like this, okay, that all calms the officer down a little bit. If the red and blue lights come on and you pull over and stop, and you're over here digging through glove compartments and opening up stuff, and you might have good intentions. You're trying to find your insurance, you're trying to find your wallet, you're trying to whatever, but the officer doesn't know that. The officer thinks, what I think when I see people is, that person's reaching in the glove box to grab a gun so that they can shoot me. I can't live in a world where I think of the best case scenario. I have to prepare for the worst case scenario at all times. So I'm thinking this individual is reaching for a gun and they want to cause harm to me. So if I'm sitting still, perfect like this, that officer's stress level is going to come down. They'll get up to the window and they'll tell you what to do. Can I have your driver's license and your insurance? Yes, officer, it is in the glove box. Let me grab it, please. Yep, go ahead. Okay, or officer gets up. Hi, I'm Officer Slayton, Gladstone Police Department. I stopped you because you're speeding. Can I have your driver's license and insurance? Yes, but I want to let you know, officer, I have a gun in the vehicle. Okay, cool. My response to that is, well, if you don't pull your gun out and point it at me, I won't pull my gun out and point it at you. How about that? Deal? Sweet. You know, we don't have to make a big deal of it. We don't have to go crazy over it, because it is legal to have a gun in the United States, right? You can have a gun if you want one. If you're not a felon or whatever, if you're of age, you can have a gun. So I don't care. As long as you don't point it at me, I don't care. I might tell them to step out of the car. I might grab the gun and keep it with me until the traffic stops over, but then I'll give you your driver's license, insurance back, and give you your gun back. Have a good day. But I don't, just letting the officer know that there's a gun, letting the officer know that you need to reach to grab something, it helps lower that stress level. And if you can deal with an officer that's not stressed out, then it's probably going to end better for you. It doesn't mean you're not going to get a ticket. It's just maybe instead of getting 5 tickets, maybe you just get 1. I don't know. Because we could write you a ticket for the speeding, the no insurance, the expired registration, and running a stop sign. Didn't use your turn signal, whatever. We could, all kinds of tickets, and maybe the officer just says, you know what? Since you were so cool with me, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to write you the no insurance ticket. But if you have insurance, take it to court, and they can dismiss that charge. So then you end up getting a ticket. You have to go to court, but really you're not out anything because they're going to dismiss it if you have insurance. So then you end up with no tickets. So it's not that big of a deal, and all because you are respectful, all because you were upfront and honest, and you helped lower that officer's stress level. Okay? Nobody likes to get pulled over. So do everything you can to reduce that stress level, and it will in turn reduce your stress level, most likely.
Are you guys have a car run so I can maybe keep one while you're waiting? Since your windows will roll down.
What is it?
Are you at least allowed to have your car run so you can keep warm while you're waiting? Since you're
You keep the car running.
Oh, you can. I'm just saying, best case scenario is to shut the car off.
No, like put on a run, like it doesn't before you start the engine.
So turn off the engine, but then turn it back over so the heater's still going.
Oh, okay.
You can
Yeah.
run on your battery pretty quick.
Yeah, I mean, you can, but, yeah. And I say all this, and it is a very, very small percentage of population that actually turns their car off. Most people leave it running. And when we get up there, we don't typically ask people, can you shut the car off? Unless we get a feeling that this person might run from us. If we've dealt with this person before, or if they're just giving us some indicators that they're up to no good, then I might say, hey, can you shut the car off and hand me the keys? And then I might take the keys and set them on top of their roof, like in the middle, where they can't just reach up and grab them. And then I continue on my stuff. So there's a lot of different ways that traffic stops can be handled. And the vast majority of folks leave their cars running. I'm just saying, shutting it off is just another way that, if possible, it can lower the stress level of the officer and show the officer that I am doing everything that I can to respect what you're doing here, and I understand you're stressed about it. You know, there's anxiety with traffic stops. And even though we might pull 20 people over in a day, and you kind of get numb to traffic stops, it's still dangerous. Okay? It still makes officers nervous. So.
That kind of, we're coming to a close here, guys, because I'm releasing in about 2 minutes. Any last parting questions, comments? Anything you'd like to say to Officer Slayton? I do appreciate Officer Slayton coming in and running them through this. I wish it was a normal year and we had a bigger audience and
Yeah.
But thank you for your time. Thank you for your service. We appreciate all that you do, and thanks for being here with us as well as at the school. So that was good information, ladies and gentlemen. You got rights. Make sure
Yep.
you understand.
Know your rights.